Can West Virginia finally get back to playing the type of basketball they had been playing earlier in the season? And can they do something they've done all season long? And that is shock us all, shock the world, shock the country with a big win against the Houston Cougars. We're going to talk about that in this episode of Hoops from the Hills. Thank you for jumping on the show and joining and watching. I ask that you please also comment. I ask that you please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And please share this with your family and friends who might enjoy this content about West Virginia Mountaineer basketball. Now, let's start off with just the basics. This game is going to air Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. Will be played inside the WVU Coliseum in Morgantown, West Virginia, and it's going to air on ESPN+. A lot of people not happy with that, but that's just the way the cookie has crumbled this year for the Big 12, especially West Virginia. West Virginia coming off a 2-game skid, losing at home to Arizona State, and then dropping a game to Kansas State in Manhattan. Can they get back to their winning ways? In both of those games, they struggled to shoot the basketball. They just did not shoot the ball well, especially from three. This is a team who shoots 50% of their shots from the three-point range, from the three-point line. They have got to make shots at least at a semi-consistent rate to even have a chance to win games. They've not been rebounding the ball very well. They have lacked the tenacity that they used to have on defense, the tenacity that they had shown in all these big wins against Gonzaga and Arizona and Kansas and Iowa State and all these games they had been winning with the tenacity they had shown. That tenacity has not been there the last couple of games, or at least in half of those games. The second half against Kansas State, it came back. But they had already buried themselves in a 24-point deficit and were not able to dig their way out. So they've got to get back to playing that tenacious style of defense. They need to have more energy coming into this one. They need to have more aggression. They need to be more physical. And hopefully they've gotten right mentally. They've gotten right physically. I know they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. Amani Hansberry has been banged up some. Hopefully he's back and healthier. He can give them some valuable minutes. But they have got to come into this game, shake off these two losses, and respond. Now, they've done that most of the year when they have lost games, and they've been blown out a lot this year in a few games. They have got to shake these losses. They've been able to do it before. Can they do it again? It's yet to be determined. I'm not going to sit here and be super fancy and give you 3 keys of the game and all this stuff. Because at the end of the day, this game is going to be darn near, I don't want to say impossible, but it's an uphill battle for this Mountaineer squad. Houston is they're one of the best teams in the country. There's no doubt about it. They're ranked number 6 in the country for a reason. And they're coming off back-to-back victories. One, a road game at Kansas where they defeated the Jayhawks. Before that, they played the Utah Utes at home in Houston. You know what the final score of that game was? 70-36. They doubled them up almost. 70-36 against Utah. Now, this game is in Morgantown, which should help. But, man, West Virginia, so far, they've dropped a game to Arizona in Morgantown and to Arizona State in Morgantown. So I don't see Houston having an issue with the crowd in Morgantown. I don't see them having an issue, with being on the road, because they've obviously shown they can win on the road with wins, like I said, over Kansas, Kansas State, and others. But this, just to show you how good, and by the way, they're on a 12-game winning streak right now. Their overall record 16-3. Their losses are to Auburn by 5 on a neutral site, or at a neutral site. They lost to Alabama by 5 at a neutral site, and they lost to San Diego State, a surprising loss. They lost to San Diego State by 3 at a neutral site. They have not lost any true road games or any true away game, or any true home games rather. And are undefeated in the Big 12. So this is a very, very good basketball team. Obviously, West Virginia fans have seen them already once, and we know how good they are. But when you just look at this team, just is how good they are, okay? They're number 1 in the country in scoring margin. They are number 2 in the country in opponent effective field goal percentage. So that's how well they do defending the other team shooting the basketball. They are number 1 in the country in opponent shooting percentage overall. Number 1 in opponent 2-point percentage. Number 37 in opponent 3-point percentage. Number 10 in opponent field goals attempted per game. Number 1 in opponent field goal made. They're only giving up 18.5 field goals a game, folks. 18.5 field goals a game made. That is remarkable. That is just absolutely astonishing. Look at their opponent 3-point percentage or 3-point makes. They're number 71 in the country, giving up only 6.73 made threes a game on 22.3 attempts. And they're number 37 in 3-point percentage. I think I mentioned that already. They're giving up 30.2% opponent 3-point shooting percentage. And the way West Virginia has been shooting the basketball lately, that's not a good sign for this Mountaineer team. This is just unbelievable. They're number 1 in the country in opponent second half points a game. They're only giving up 30 points a game in the second half. Just unreal. And they're number 1 in opponent first half points, giving up only 24 a game. Offensive rebounds a game, they're number 17. There's not a lot of weak points on this team. I just don't see a lot of weaknesses. West Virginia has got to come out and play their A game, number 1. They have to make their 3-point shots. They have to pass the ball well and move the ball well in order to get good looks at the basket, because it's going to be tough. Most of your shots in this game are going to be contested because of the style of defense Houston plays. So West Virginia when they do get open looks, they have got to make them. No questions asked. They got to do it. If you shoot 19-20% in this game like you've done the last couple of games, you're not going to win, period. Not happening. And can West Virginia turn Houston over? Well, they're also number 1 in the country in turnovers a game, only turning it over 8.7 times a game. It's just anywhere West Virginia is good, like forcing turnovers, Houston is good in that area too. They don't turn it over much. I just don't see a lot of weaknesses. So West Virginia has to play their A game. They have to make their outside shots, and they have to at least be competitive on the glass. You can't lose the rebounding battle by 8, 9, 10. You have to keep it within 5, in my opinion. You have to do a good job assisting on baskets, which means you move the ball well, get good shots where you step into shots, hopefully open shots. You have to score in transition when you get the opportunity, even though you're probably not going to get a lot of opportunities. You've got to take advantage, and you have to get back and play great transition defense. Houston will absolutely destroy teams in the transition game. So West Virginia has got to get back and play good in transition, because these players they have, like LJ Cryer, who, by the way, is averaging 13.5 a game, playing 30.68 minutes a game. Juwan Roberts, who's averaging 11.28 a game, and Emmanuel Sharp averaging 13.4 a game. Especially Sharp and Cryer, they will absolutely destroy you from the 3-point line. You have got to make sure you close out on them. You've got to keep Juwan Roberts off the boards. All of these things are going to be critical if West Virginia has any chance at all to come out with a win in this game. So it's basically going to take their A game and then some. I'm not going to go as far as to say it'll take a miracle for West Virginia to pull this game off, but they're going to have everything go right for them. They're going to have to play very, very good. They're going to have to play like they have against Iowa State and Kansas in those big games. They have got to bring that type of game to the table, or they stand no chance. I'm just being blunt, because Houston might be the best team they play on the schedule. And you're not going to play any semblance of what you played the last 2 games and even stand a chance. If you play like you did in the first half against Kansas State, or like you did against Arizona State, Houston might win by 50. They're that good. I don't care if the game is in Morgantown. So if West Virginia can bring their A game, their A-plus game, actually, play the way they played against when they won those other big games, hopefully Houston can turn the ball over a few times. West Virginia can take advantage of those turnovers, maybe get a few extra free throws, make those free throws, and their 3-point shots are falling. They got a chance. Mountaineer Nation needs to show up and be loud be excited, get this team pumped up. Hopefully everybody's healthy that's obviously playing right now. Hopefully nobody's banged up. Hopefully nobody's sick. All that stuff's behind them, and they can come and play West Virginia basketball. And I'll tell you something else that I wouldn't mind seeing them do. And I know Darren DeVries doesn't like to do this. I would like to see them play a little bit of zone defense. Throw something different at Houston, something you haven't done, something you haven't put on tape. Go to a 2-3. And something some people have pointed out in the comments of a couple of my videos. It'll help rest the guys. You got guys playing 36, 37 minutes a game. You've got guys that are fatigued. Go to a 2-3 zone. If you do it right, it's a good defense, especially if you just do it for a few possessions just to get your guys some rest. And then you can go back to man. There are things that Coach DeVries can do to help. And I think I'd like to see him pull out some type of zone defense, like a 2-3 zone, just for a few possessions a game. Again, it's also something that you haven't put on tape, so maybe there's an advantage there. So that's just one little tweak I'd like to see him throw in. Shout out to those folks. There was multiple people who mentioned that in the comments of my post-game show the other night. Kudos to you. That's a great idea, and I think I love it. I don't foresee it happening because Coach DeVries seems to be one of those guys who does basically man or nothing. But I also don't think he's the type of coach that's too stubborn to do something if he needs to do it and if he thinks it'll work. So maybe he'll do some type of zone and change things up a bit in this game to give his guys a little bit of a breather. Let me know what you think in the comment section. A, do you like the idea of a zone defense? And B, what do you think it's going to take for West Virginia to win this game? But just give you a score prediction real quick, since I like to do that in most of these videos. I'm going to say West Virginia loses the game in Morgantown to Houston by a score of 73-58. I think it's a double-digit win for the Cougars. I just don't think West Virginia has enough in the tank to play with Houston for 4 quarters, or for 2 halves in this case. And I just think Houston's too much. I think they're too good. I just don't think this West Virginia team has the depth to compete for an entire game. They might keep it close for a half, maybe even or even for the first 15 minutes or so. But I think at the end of the day, Houston pulls away and wins at 73-58 in Morgantown, hands the Mountaineers their 3rd straight loss and their 5th loss overall in league play. Let me know what you think in the comments. What is your score prediction? And what do you think keys are for West Virginia to pull out a victory in this game? And can they even do it? I want to hear your thoughts. Also want to remind you to please hit the thumbs up button if you liked this video. Please drop a comment that I mentioned. Please share it with your family and friends who like West Virginia Mountaineer hoops. And please subscribe. I'm that close to 2,000. Heck, I might be to 2,000 by the time this video uploads. But if I get to 2, I'm on my way to 5, right? That's the way this thing works. So help me get there. Please subscribe. I'm covering West Virginia Mountaineer basketball all season long. And don't forget to check out my football channel, Couz's Corner. If you haven't seen that yet, please do so. I appreciate you tuning into this episode. You may also like the one YouTube's recommending right here in the corner of your screen. Q Country Roads.